Hiya,
Hello, Dario.
how are you?
I'm fine, and you?
I'm pretty good. Thank you very much. So, are you in
It's
Vienna?
it's lovely to meet you, and I see you've got a cup of tea there.
Oh, I have a cup of coffee. I've just made a cup of coffee.
Okay,
Yeah.
wonderful, wonderful. Yeah. How is it? How are things there in Scotland?
It's okay. It's okay. We're slowly going back to normality, meaning
Yeah.
since Friday, we can meet outside, a maximum of 6 people. Uh, the only shops that are open remain food shops, pharmacies, essential stuff, and hairdressers since Monday last week. Yeah,
Okay.
it's
Oh, that's
okay.
good. Yeah.
So relaxation is not really happening big
Yeah.
time, but
Mm,
slowly but surely we've been. I think we've been much better than England in dealing with the COVID situation, and
mm.
we've been more careful and stricter since the beginning, and so things are looking good
Oh.
for us here. Yeah, it's
So
okay.
did Scotland have sort of different
Yes.
rules? I would say. Did you
Yeah.
start earlier also with the lockdown?
Yes, so we have our own parliament. And Nicola Sturgeon is the first minister, and she's been very good with the approach to the pandemic. We went on lockdown much earlier than England, stricter lockdown, and the relaxation happened just over summer, but not as much as England. And it's only 5 million people here in Scotland, so it's not very many of us, and it's easier to control, I guess.
Yeah. And
Here in
how?
Glasgow, there's very many people here in Glasgow, which is the epicenter of Scottish pandemic, but it's going okay. So
Yeah.
vaccination is going very quickly, as you know,
Mm,
and yeah, we can't complain, to be honest. In terms of
mm.
health, it's okay.
Okay, that's good. But and the people overall, were they very I would say uh, disciplined to with the or eager to follow the rules of the lockdown?
I, I don't know. I don't know. I think they've been put in a position by the government to have to stick to the rules, or
Mm,
else. Uh, I don't think people are particularly good in following,
mm.
restrictions, and they just.
But tell me, Daria, when the lockdown was announced in Scotland, were you? I mean, were you then in Scotland? Because I see you go all over the place.
I do go all over the place. Interestingly enough, the first sign of COVID were the beginning of last year, like January, February, and I was
Mm,
doing a production of La Fanciulla del West by Puccini with
mm,
Winter Opera St. Louis in Missouri, in America. Fantastic production and amazing soloists. It was really good, and we were already starting to see problems. Elderly people in the audience not turning up for performances, even if I booked tickets because of the scare. And so the situation started when I was in America, and I came back. I believe at the first week of March, or maybe the first around the 10th of March last year, and the lockdown happened on the 14th or something like that.
really?
So,
Yeah.
I just made it back. I just finished my production, which was the last opera to be performed on stage in St. Louis before the lockdown, and the last opera to date, because they've only
Yeah.
done, yeah. And then I came back, lockdown happened, and the world stopped, as you know.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah,
And
so
was that did you then have some more projects coming up that had to be cancelled?
absolutely, I've lost so much.
Mm,
I had a recording of a world premiere recording of Lind Peintner ballet called Yoko, the Brazilian Monkey. Is the first ballet that featured Taglioni as a main dancer in Germany, in Dresden, and we had to cancel that. That was the Prague Philharmonia, and it was like a week after lockdown. So Naxos had to cancel the orchestra, had to cancel all the flights, all the hotels, and everything else. and I lost my usual conducting in New York in June. I always conducted Carnegie Hall and Lincoln Center. I lost that. Other 3 recordings, if I remember correctly, were, not binned, but, postponed.
Yeah, yeah.
So nothing really happened until, oh yeah, and many, many, many other performances. I mean, 2021, this year, I think I've lost like 15 bookings, or because people don't know what's happening. And even next year, they say, yeah, maybe we're doing something. So yeah, we, for what regards my profession, I managed to do 1 recording in December with the Janicek Philharmonic in the Czech Republic, and we recorded volume 5 of my Aubert series. But even then, it was so difficult. We, instead of being on stage where normally we would record, we were spread out in the hall. So it was almost impossible to hear the winds for me, to hear the brass. The recording came out very good, but really, really difficult. A very difficult approach. Technically and musically, and so it's affecting everything. Yeah, as you can imagine.
Yeah. Do you, as a conductor now, in this circumstances where the orchestra is so spread out, and also because I know conducting, it's leading really, and you have to have that confidence to lead this orchestra. Do you find in this time where this has also changed and your orchestra is spread out, and like you say now, it's difficult to hear, does that also bring some difficulty for you to conduct, or to get this feeling of, to get these people to get the sounds together?
Yeah. I would say so, 100%. It's very, very, very difficult, because usually you're surrounded by the sound, as you know. The distance is not that big, even in a symphony orchestra, and the loudest instruments, which are brass and winds, are at the back pointing directly at you, and you have a surround sound coming your direction. Whereas in this situation, I could hear the first desk of the wind, of the strings maybe, and that's about that. So seriously, I was struggling even to hear the trombones, which is everyone makes a joke that trombones are always too loud. I could not hear. It was really, really difficult. I had to rely a lot of my producer hearing from the recording booth, telling me we need to tape down the trumpets here, or lift the cello. It was difficult. It was very, very difficult. And I'm very curious, because I have a recording in 2 weeks now, with the very same orchestra, really enough. And I'm curious to see if things have changed. Now we're going to be tested every day for COVID, every day before recording. If everyone is negative, we can carry on with the production. If one person is positive, everything is cancelled. And I'm curious to see, because I've seen photos they've been performing on stage. So everyone with a mask and plexiglass around is just crazy. So we'll see. I don't know. I hope we'll be closer so I can communicate better, and hear what's coming out of the orchestra, and make corrections, and it's difficult. It's, as you know, it's a two-way communication, and there's it's like having a poor broadband. If there's always interruptions, and it doesn't quite work.
But this is also the now that you say about the masks, we know the masks are there, of course, for the safety, but also I've spoken to an actor, and he says that the mask, basically the eyes, the lower part of the or with the eyes, you can be animated in a way, but it's really the mouth that's and I wonder, for you also to communicate to your orchestra, you of course you use your hands, but I think your face is also part of it.
Absolutely. Yeah. It takes away 85%, 90% of your communication. Uh, and even verbal communication with a mask is so difficult. I speak English with a funny accent, and the guys in the orchestra speak Czech, for example. And so my English needs to be very, very clear. And the mask doesn't allow that. They can't read my lips. And I tend to be quite expressive in my, in my conducting. And yeah, that's taken away completely. So I don't know. Let's hope I'll be able to remove the mask for future engagements. At least keeping 2 meters distance, and I don't have to talk, so there shouldn't be any issues. But yeah, the actor was absolutely correct. It's taken away. It's taken away, freedom to communicate, and for us in the arts, art is feeling, art is expression, and that's covered. You cannot really communicate. You have all the big gestures in the world, but we as human beings read this more than anything. Yeah, and so absolutely true. Yeah. It's tough. If I was wearing, which I have here, if I was wearing my mask now, lovely Scottish mask, it would be dreadful. I look very professional, but it's difficult. Yeah, as you know.
Yeah. No, definitely. Yeah. Do you think also now? Do you think the sound will change? Because of this, because of the distance also between the musicians, that that maybe we don't hear it now, but afterwards we will be able to hear. Okay, this was done in the time of Corona. In the time of where the masks and the distance, because I would imagine that if sound, if the orchestra is closer to each other, the sound would be different than when the orchestra is far apart.
I think you have a very good point. This is what I was thinking when I was doing the mastering and the mixing of this record, and it was very good. Let's say I was 99% happy. But there were 6 bars of unison where the violins, first violins, second violins, flutes, and clarinets were playing unison. Very complicated, demi-semi quivers passage at quite fast pace. And we had 2, 3, or 4 takes, I don't remember now. And it wasn't quite together as it would have been, if the sections were closer to one another. So I was talking to my wife, and she said, I think the recording company should indicate that this was recorded during coronavirus. And it's very funny you mentioned it, because that's exactly her words. My wife works here for Scottish Opera, so she's in the business as well. And she said, I think they should indicate it, absolutely, because you've managed to deliver a product which is highly professional and good. But if you were in different circumstances, maybe it would have been a slightly better or slightly more together. It's an orchestra sounds like one instrument. Maybe in this case sounds like an instrument and a little off. I don't know.
Yeah.
But you're right. I agree.
But wouldn't it be one of those things that we will that will become a sort of a almost like a collectible thing, that we say this was done, this is a one-off, or this is this was done during this time, that we have the evidence of it not being so 100% perfect.
Yeah, it depends how long this thing goes on, right? Because if we are here in the same situation for 20 years, then
then it won't be.
Let's hope it's a rarity. Yeah, let's hope.
Yeah. So you say your wife is also an artist. Is she opera singer?
Works here in Glasgow for Scottish Opera, but she's not in the artistic department. She's in the marketing department.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
She's keen here for music. She's an amateur musician as well, and grew up in music. So, and then she's surrounded by music, 24/7 like I am. So yeah.
But then both of you were quite affected then, if she's involved in the opera house, then both of you were affected during this time.
Absolutely, yeah. She was, being employed by a national company. Scottish Opera is partly funded by the Scottish government. They were very lucky because since the beginning they were put in a furlough scheme, and if I remember correctly, it was 80% of the pay was paid by the government, and the rest 20% by the company. So she retained. She never lost a day of work. They did a short week for the first year, like Monday to Thursday or Tuesday to Friday. I don't remember.
Oh yeah.
And now they're back to normal, but it's all homework, working from home. It's not real making opera. It's not real organizing events and stuff like that. It's all planning for the future, So in that way, it's been affected hugely. In terms of revenue, well, I've lost all my contracts. Luckily, Hannah managed, she's working from Scottish Opera, so at least, she had a pay coming in.
Yeah. But now, how did you keep yourself motivated in this time? Because it's also this, it's difficult to deal with all these cancellations, but then there's something, and of course, being a conductor, but I do see you play also instruments.
Yes,
did you pick up the instruments again? The bass guitar, was that? Yeah.
I was a quite successful bass guitar player in my younger days, meaning 2 years ago, until 2 years ago. And then I haven't touched it for 2 years. But for me, motivation is problem number 0. I have no problems motivating myself. I'm more of, I don't know if you researched about me or read about me. I passionately love rediscoveries.
Oh yes, I saw that. Yeah.
Yes. So bringing back masterpieces and works that are now forgotten, unjustly so. And so there's a lot of research that goes behind it. And I mean, a lot of research, like hours weekly, and a lot of restoration, because more often than not, I find scores which are in the composer handwriting, and they're not performable because it's very difficult to read, there's no parts. So my motivation is, I'm deeply in love with the genre of music that I present, which is Viennese operetta, comic opera in general, and Schauspiel music, which no one else in the world wants Schauspiel music anymore, apart from me. And
okay.
So that's my passion, and so I research all the time, I restore all the time, I put together projects all the time, which then I give to my label, and they almost all the time say yes, because they're farsighted and they know that this would be interesting. So for me, motivation is no problem. Do I miss conducting in person? Yes and no. Conducting is a funny game. How can I describe it? It's like a battle. It's a constant battle it's like being a politician more than being a musician, in my opinion. You're always dealing with management, musicians, booking agents, anything but the music. So, unless, you are Barenboim or Papano or, those names, and what you say goes. But in our, mortal world of, mid-fame conductors, it's not the 80s anymore. It's not the 70s anymore, where the conductor was the superstar. We're just, we're there to keep everyone together. So I don't really miss it. I always prefer recording, because that remains forever. I don't miss the performance so much, because once it's done, it's done.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
I enjoy the rehearsal process very much. I'm quite, being a musicologist and historian, I'm quite fascinated and obsessed, like Carl Bohm was, by minutiae, little things like a crotchet rest needs to be a crotchet rest. There's a reason it's there. And I love style. I love, researching about the work and giving it the right interpretation. So rehearsals are the best part, and I miss that. Performance, I hate it.
Really?
I hate it because it goes by too quickly. It's never as good as you want it to be because, you have to carry on. You can't stop. I sweat too much, and I'm
Yeah.
too tall. I'm always too tall because I'm 6'2", so 188. So I'm
Yeah.
always too tall in the pit. And yeah, I don't love it. I don't love it.
You're ruining conducting now for me.
No, it's, I mean,
I'm so fascinated by conductors because I photographed a lot of conductors and spoken to a few or so, and also on Zoom. But now I understand, I can imagine what you mean about this, that somebody else mentioned this to me, that a performance is there and then it's gone.
I
Yeah.
don't like, I don't
Yeah.
like that. And
Yeah.
maybe because I'm so interested in bringing back words, therefore for me, music needs to be a way of consolidating and bringing forward a Western European musical heritage.
Mm.
And I'm very proud of that, and I really want it not to get lost. We have so many works that deserve to come out. And therefore, for maybe I'm into this circle where every time I work on something is towards, this final product that is there for everyone to enjoy in 50 years, in 80 years, Whereas, you do your performance, clap, 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 take off your tailcoat, have a shower, and then it's gone. I
But
don't know.
but this is now interesting because I've been thinking and wondering about this sort of freedom that artists have, because also I've spoken to young musicians
Are you saying
from the university. Pardon?
Are you saying I'm not young?
Well, you said you think like a teenager, so yeah. But I get this impression that sometimes there's a sort of a control in the sense that concert houses have to sell tickets and opera houses have to sell tickets, and in a way certain things have to be there, and it loses some sort of the freedom of, like you're saying now, there are certain things that you like to research, and new older things that you like to bring back. That how much freedom do you have to do that?
Nowadays, very little.
Oh,
So
okay.
in opera, I'm there at the service of the singers. Rightly so. I need to be sure I give them time enough to breathe. I need to be sure that the phrasing is not strained. I need to be sure that they're comfortable on stage. I need to be sure that they have the cues where they need them. The tempi are, constant with what we rehearsed, etc., etc. So my role is during the performance to be completely at the service of the singers. In rehearsal, again, I can go to the rehearsal, the first rehearsal with certain ideas in my head, and then I find myself in front of a set of singers who have their own limits. Some are exceptional singers, some are very good singers, some are mediocre singers, and this needs adapting, and we need to adapt. Therefore, I honestly believe in opera, my role is that of a support. Stage director has much more say than I do. Not stage director, the director. Singers have more say than I do, more often than not. In ballet, I like ballet because no one is yelling at me. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
in ballet, is everything is more relaxed. I think is once you've rehearsed, and in that case, yes, you can really bring your own style, at least in the interpretation of the music. The tempi needs to be the ones that are good for the dancers, of course. But in terms of interpreting the music, yeah, I think there's more scope in ballet. And in recording, I'm absolutely the master. I do what I want.
Mm.
But actually, well, I'm saying that the master is the composer, of course. But
Yeah,
within what I think the composer wants, I give my own not interpretation, but my own reading to what
mm.
the composer wants. So
Yeah,
yeah, that's why I was saying being a conductor in live performance with an opera house, with a symphony orchestra, is more being what I would call a social impresario, meaning being someone that promotes social interactions and is there as a medium, as a middle ground, more than the great musical interpreter of.
I see.
But
Yeah,
then I'm not Karajan, I'm not Kleiber, I'm not Furtwängler, I'm not anyone. So that's probably what it is. I'm a
yeah,
I'm a musician. I'm not a name.
yeah. I understand. Yeah. Um, Tell me, in Scotland, for example, there are the countryside of Scotland. How much art artistic or how much availability is there for people to visit, say, concerts and
Uh-huh. I think Scotland's fantastic.
mm,
There's a central belt geographically. Scotland goes from the borders, Scottish borders, which is the south, bordering with England, the central belt where most people live, which is Glasgow, Stirling, Edinburgh, from
yeah,
west to east. And then you go north, you have the Highlands and Aberdeenshire. Aberdeen, large city, Highlands, sparsely populated Inverness and Fort William, main centers. You would imagine that being so spread out, it would be difficult to access art, but it's not. Most companies tour. So for example, Hannah's company, Scottish Opera, they organize every year a tour where they take a smaller production or sometimes the full production of the work they're doing here in Glasgow and in Edinburgh to small villages, even small villages.
wonderful. Yeah,
Yeah, fantastic. And there's a huge folk tradition, Gaelic, Scottish music tradition. Um, and live music is a big part. We have film festivals, art festival, Edinburgh Fringe. There's so
mm,
much. Well, there was so much. Now we'll see after the
yeah.
lockdown.
But
Yeah,
but
correct.
would you? Oh, that's a cuckoo.
Yeah, it's the new clock.
But would you say art is valued in Scotland then? And artists are valued?
In what way?
Well, not necessarily in a financial way, but in the sense that there are support. Say, well, I would say a part in a financial way, because I'm talking about support now during this time for artists, and the other thing is the other aspect is, do people value live performances, that a lot of people come to live performances, and that it's also young people coming to live performances, and that art is seen as not just a sideline, but as an important part of society.
I think absolutely so. Yeah, I'm not sure about young people going to more classical events, but there are. I mean, for example, just here in Glasgow, there's so many professional orchestras. You have Royal Scottish National Orchestra, the BBC Scottish Symphony Orchestra, and Scottish Opera, Scottish Ballet, and this is 4 huge orchestras and with 4 huge venues around the city,
Mm.
and they're always packed. Edinburgh, I don't know it so well, but the Scottish Chamber Orchestra over there. And this is just classical music. Yes, I think the Scottish people are very much supportive of musicians and artists in general.
Really?
Yeah, I would say yes, big yes. Yeah.
Okay. That's, yeah. And what is your education system like? I mean, do children get enough opportunity to, say, for instance, take music lessons and art and dancing?
This could be a very many hours long discussion, because it's never enough really, and and more often than not, parents have to pay for it. But there's proposals because we're having an election in 2 weeks here in Scotland, and a big election for the parliament. And there's one of the parties is saying they want music tuition to be free for everyone in schools.
That's wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So there is definitely an interest. I don't know if it's going to happen, but yeah, I have many friends who are music teachers. None of them is struggling with work, so there's a lot of interest in learning. I'm talking about music because that's what I know, but I know the ballet, they do classes for everyone in the city as well, and that's going very well. Yeah, there's a lot to do. If one wants, one can find it for sure.
But yeah, I'm specifically talking about this because I think the lessons are available, but as you say, everybody has to pay for them. But I'm talking more, and it's wonderful that I hear that there are actually politicians talking about this, that there can be free music lessons part of school, so part of the curriculum, and art as such part of the curriculum, so that all children have the possibility, and not just children from families where they can afford, or families where parents have the sort of idea to send their children to music lessons.
I agree.
Yeah,
it's a very, very good thing. Also there's a quite lively amateur music scene. Here in Britain, there's brass bands which allow children or anyone really to learn an instrument for free. They give you the instrument, you can learn it. And here in Scotland, sorry, the ambulance is very fast. In Scotland, there's pipe bands, with bagpipes. It's a big thing. There's no lack of opportunities, and I don't think there's no lack of free opportunities as well. The quality of those, I don't really know, but once your foot is in the door,
exactly. Yeah.
I don't think it's. I don't know. I would have to talk to my friends, music teachers, to give you an uninformed answer. From what I see from the outside, I don't think it's hugely limiting the situation. But if the government or whoever wins the election manages to do this, free music lessons or whatever, even acting lessons or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree.
That would be amazing. Yeah, it just shows you it can be done.
I think so.
Yeah.
It's all about this all the time.
Yeah.
It's all about money. So I don't know. We're not a very rich country, Scotland, but I think it's quite a good country in terms of social issues. We have big problems like addiction. Here is a huge problem. Drug addiction is a huge problem, but there are many other things that Scottish government is doing right.
Dario, in the time that you were in this lockdown period, was there something you did that you've never had time to do? Did you start cooking as well, or baking sourdough bread?
I've always cooked in my life, so no, I can't say cooking.
Okay, yeah.
I've done something weird.
Yeah.
I'm in the British Army.
Yeah.
I'm in the Scottish regiment here, and I've applied to become an officer. So I have actually my final exam next Monday.
Yeah.
And so I've been training all this year really hard and studying really hard all the subjects that, you know, I needed to prepare. So this is something very new. I've never been very sporty, although, you know, I've been lucky because, you know, I've had always a quite athletic body. So I've trained a lot, you know, physically. Apart from that, no,
But
I'm
that's
just.
but that's very interesting. And so you are part of the army. So what exactly did this training entail?
So I'm part of an army band. They call the Highland Band of the Royal Regiment of Scotland.
Mm.
So as a musician, but I want to contribute as much as I can as a director. So there's a position for director of music, and that's why you need to be officer, which is what I'm going to audition for. And what the training was, well, it's so hard. They want me to be an 18-year-old, like fit commando, where I'm
Oh,
forced.
okay. Yeah.
Now there's a lot of physical stuff, you know, running.
Yeah.
At least four days a week. There's all this cardio work, muscular work, and a lot of theory. You know, leadership and what is called CAT question, which is psychometric tests and all this.
Oh, yeah.
This
Yeah.
absurd stuff.
Really?
This is okay. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. You know, it's one other thing, one other crazy thing in my life.
Well, okay, this is up there with the ones that's very memorable, because I've got a baritone that bought chickens, and a cellist who built a wall.
Built a wall.
You know, these stone walls, but the stones are so stacked up. Yeah, he restored it actually. And now you doing your army training. That's very memorable. Yes.
Army training is not as inspired as going completely out of the way, you know. But I don't know. Do I wish I did something? I don't know. I don't think I wouldn't have had the time, to be honest. For me, really, the lockdown happened, but I haven't changed anything. You know, I always work from 8 o'clock in the morning until I go to bed on my projects anyway, and this hasn't changed. Apart from traveling around, you know.
Does that do you find that well, I wouldn't say difficult, but different, not to be able to travel?
It is different, yeah. It is difficult as well. I've always, you know, I always loved, you know, traveling, especially going to America. I like the States, whatever people say. It's and I miss that. Yeah, I miss that. I miss different food, you know, that you can find.
Oh yeah.
You know, that's and just talking with people with a different mind, because you know the mindset, you know, everywhere you go there's a mindset, and it's nice to. That's one thing I miss the most, having, you know, not confrontation, you know, exchanges with other people about, that's something that I miss. Yeah, that's absolutely true.
So Dario, what is your wish when this is all over? When the new normal sets in?
In the world of, in my world, professional world, or in the wish in life?
Well, both. Well, whatever. Yeah.
Well, I can try and think of two. So in my professional world, I wish that the people with the power, you know, in music would start to realize that there's much more to offer than what they've been offering for the last 60 years, which is Traviata, 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 Camera, Sleeping Beauty, Sleeping Beauty, Sleeping Beauty, etc. And in the world of normal life, or of life, I was wishing for something that is already proved to be wrong. I was wishing that people had learned to be less egotistical and understand the value of respecting others and respecting the world we live in. And I thought maybe this lockdown will teach us that, we're dependent on each other and the environment. But from what I can see, the moment the restrictions are over, no one cares. So I wish people that deserve it stayed in lockdown for the next 10 years, and that the others can carry on living a normal life. That's probably accurate.
Well, maybe, yeah. Well, let's hope that the more people would be selfless, and so that and more people would have learned through the process.
Less selfish. Selfless is impossible, I think. But less selfish. I really thought this time, we're going to learn something. I don't think we have.
Okay.
But let's hope. That's my wish.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your time and all your lovely insights, and it was so lovely to talk to you in Scotland. I've spoken to 2 ballet dancers already from the Scottish Ballet. Yeah.
They're lovely.
Yeah, and but it's wonderful to hear, and it's also for me so positive to hear that there are things in place for children, because I think I think we should in this time really rethink the education system and see if there's not more that we can give children, so that they are going to be the audiences and the musicians of the future.
Absolutely. I agree. I completely agree. I think in that sense we will move in the right direction. I really hope so.
Yeah.
There's a need for that. There's a need for it. We can see it now,
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, have a wonderful rest of the afternoon. And I hope when you are in Vienna again that you will write so that I can meet you in person. That would be wonderful. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you too. Bye.